We are Gentlemen and Players, the specialist sports honour caps company. Since our inception over a century ago, we have been making honour caps for the most famous players and professionals across a broad number of sports. Because of our long-standing history of expertise, today we work closely with a variety of top sporting governing bodies, including the England Cricket Board and the British Lions. All of our caps are handmade, and our designs vary in style from traditional English and Australian baggy to 8-panel and hooped honour caps. Our caps are made to order from 100% Melton wool with a smart satin lining. We can embroider everything from club badges, initials and names to numbers, logos, and we also have a wide range of colours to choose from. We embroider the cloth before it's sewn together to provide a very high quality finish.
And we are immensely proud to now be honouring England's World Cup winning hat-trick hero, Sir Geoff Hurst.
This limited edition honour cap that is available to purchase comes beautifully packaged and with a magazine about Sir Geoff himself.
And now over to our Players Lounge with Ian Stafford for an exclusive sit down and to honour Sir Geoff Hurst.
Hello, I'm Ian Stafford. We're here at the London Sporting Club and this is Gentlemen and Players, and very special guest today is the one and only, and it really is the one and only person ever to score a hat-trick in a World Cup final, and yes, he did it for England as well, Sir Geoff Hurst.
Hello Ian, nice to be here.
Welcome Geoff, nice to see you.
I'm okay, thank you, very well.
Very nice to see you, and you're looking in great shape.
Well, I'm not too bad. I do try and keep myself pretty fit, although I've recently had a hip operation, so I'm a little bit less mobile, but I'm alright, I'm okay.
Yeah, you look as if you could still bang in a hat-trick, frankly.
I don't think I'm quite as good as that, but thanks for the compliment.
Okay, well, we will talk about that particular day, but actually there is more to you than simply that day, July the 30th, 1966. The first thing I wanted to talk to you about, Geoff, is that you're actually a cricketer as well, and I didn't realise this till I did some research on you, but those are the days when Dennis Compton, I mean, you could do both, but you were a seriously good cricketer, not as good as a footballer, but you were good enough to play for Essex.
Yes, well, I had one first-class game against Lancashire at Egbert in Liverpool. We got naught and naught not out, I think. I think the big issue for me at that time, I loved playing both sports from school, and I didn't make a decision really, and it was the end of an era when you could combine both sports. Cricket doesn't finish till September. The clubs have been training from July, so there's a huge overlap of training you're missing. So struggling a bit. Then what happened? I look back in astonishment. Played in the reserves, struggling, not fit to start till September. Ron Greenwood came over on a Monday morning at Chapel Heath, our training ground. We were playing Liverpool that night. He said, "We've just sold a player to Brentford, I think, a front player. We're going to try you up front tonight." And I thought, I'll have a go at it. You know, it's not for a little while. I had a go. We beat them 1-0. From then, I'll take my career just went from a struggling start, messing about between the two. I scored 14 goals in about 27 games. If you did that today, you'd be worth 100 million. And then at 62-3, and then 63-4, we won the cup. 64-5, we won the Cup Winners' Cup, and of course we get round to 66. So from that standing start, it was the end of an era. There were many cricketing footballers, but it really was. And somebody should have given me advice to say you've got to pick one. And I didn't actually pick one. It just happened. They stuck me up front, and it worked.
They stuck you up front, so you obviously...
That was Ron Greenwood.
Yes, so you're obviously known for scoring goals, very important goals, but you didn't begin as a centre forward then?
No, from school, centre half, midfield, until that day of no inclination about playing up front. I had some assets which Ron Greenwood, who was a brilliant coach, saw. He said as a midfield player, he said you like getting forward, but you didn't like getting back. What I was good at, which was obviously very important, I was very two-footed and very good striker of the ball with both feet, even as a centre half and midfield player, which obviously are tremendous assets. When you look at players today who are single-footed, it does put them at a slight disadvantage where defenders know which way they're going to go and they push them on their bad foot. Whereas for me and people like Bobby Charlton, who was totally two-footed, it was a huge asset, and you don't quite see so many of that. So they were the key assets, hitting the target, wanting to get forward, not bad in the air, and then learning the job, learning as I went, and picking up under a great teacher in Ron Greenwood.
So before we get on to 66, let's talk about West Ham. Not noted for winning leagues, but a very good cup team. And of course, West Ham fans will always say it was West Ham who won the World Cup. You had some special players, let alone with the England team, actually in the West Ham team.
It was a great time for the club. I mean, we were in the second division, and we got up in late 58, 59. And you put that in context today, coming up from the second division, or the championship as it's called, and within 5 years, we win the FA Cup. Then next year we won the Cup Winners' Cup, only the second time an English club had won a European trophy after Spurs. So quite remarkable, really. And of course we had West Ham were quite right to say that we had played a big part. We had the captain in Bobby Moore, great leader, great skipper, and in Martin Peters, who also scored a goal in the final, was nearly the winner, apart from the Germans equalising. And what's astonishing looking back about Martin, he didn't get his first cap till May. I mean, putting that in context today. Somebody playing his first game for England in May, going to this World Cup and scoring a goal in the final. So also an astonishing leap for him, and so I was very fortunate to play with two fantastic players. A great time for the club, winning two cups coming up from the second division.
You say Martin Peters didn't win his first cap until May. You didn't win your first cap until, I think it was February,
yes,
1966.
Yeah, quite late. That was quite late in itself. I was first picked in December '65 in the squad to play against Poland at Everton. I didn't play in that. I think we won 1-0, and I think Moro, the captain, scored and broke his tooth. That's the thing I remember about that. The second game, still in the squad, against West Germany at Wembley in February, and we won 1-0 with a Nobby Stiles goal. He scored from about 1 yard. I've done enough to stay in the squad and then eventually get picked for the squad for the final.
So you're in the squad, but as far as you could see, you were absolutely not the first choice striker, because England had a genius of a striker called Jimmy Greaves.
Absolutely, Jimmy was one of the greatest goal scorers in this country and worldwide. You look at his record for Chelsea, for Spurs, and England, it's absolutely unbelievable. And there's no way, and Roger Hunt, of course, who was the other striker I was competing against, the great Roger Hunt, record goal scorer in those days for Liverpool. It looked like, if I look back, it looked like I was going to play, at that May game when Martin played, I played alongside Jimmy. And then we were both given our club numbers for England. Jimmy had the 8, I wore the 10. So looking out for Ramsey's mind at that stage, it was Greavesy and me. And then I didn't play particularly well in a couple of the friendlies prior to the World Cup. And then he started with Roger and Jimmy, so it was so competitive, and quite rightly. So I sat on my backside the first 3 games while Jimmy and Roger started, and then of course Jimmy got injured in the last qualifying game against France, and so somewhat fortuitously I made my debut at the quarter-final stage in the World Cup against those lovable players from Argentina.
Yes, they were lovable, weren't they? So that's a famous game, or more like a fight. Batin was sent off, yes. But there was all sorts of shenanigans going on, were there? Before, during and after?
Absolutely, yes. We'd seen them play in one of the early rounds. Even in the medieval days, we had the opportunity to look at videos. So we saw a game where they played West Germany, strangely enough, at Villa Park. And that particular game we'd seen on video was absolutely vicious from Argentina. So we knew what was coming, and Alf Ramsey's words that prior to the game, don't get involved. You see what they're going to do, it's not a surprise, get on with it. If you start retaliating, you'll be the people that sent off. And of course, as it turned out, it worked the other way, and Ratting got his marching orders just before half-time. So, because I made a stunning debut, we scored what we call a West Ham goal. The West Ham created on the training ground at Chapel Heath. And Martin Peters near post crossed to me against a 10-man Argentina. So yeah, it was a great start for me. I was happy, I was so thrilled. I never dreamed I'd play for England. That was not on my radar. I thought I'd have a good career at West Ham. Never dreamed I'd be picked. And then I was sitting on the bench for the first 3 games in the World Cup. And my thoughts were very clear. I was just happy to be sitting on the bench amongst the best 22 players in a World Cup in this country. And where I come from, and 3 years earlier, I couldn't get a game for West Ham reserves hardly. So that's how I felt at the time. So when my chance came, I wasn't disillusioned like some players and some people that get dropped out of their particular roles or particular work. I was ready to go and came in and of course took my chance with the goal against Argentina.
And famously afterwards, Sir Alf, who really was one of a kind, Sir Alf Ramsey, the England manager. Famously, he saw George Cohen, didn't he, trying to swap a shirt with one of the Argentinians?
With Mas, their left winger. There's this famous picture of him trying to hold them apart. And then he created a bit of a political incident by calling them animals, which was quite right, because it's something you really can't use. And when you said about an incident, there was an incident which happened after the game where the Argentinians threw a chair through our dressing room window, which Gordon Banks tells a very, very good story of. And of course, in those days, huge differences, that never got out. Yeah. And Alf Ramsey said that this must not go out. There, he said, you're in the next round of the World Cup. They're on the way to Argentina. Nobody says anything about it, and it hasn't been spoken about until Banksy talks about it now. Banksy finished off with a great line when the Argentinians wanted to fight us. He said, Nobby Stiles was looking through Jack Charlton's legs saying, let the buggers in.
So that was Nobby saying that, was it?
Nobby
I heard Jack was also ready for it as well.
Yeah, but listen, we had some tough boys. Yeah. One of the great assets of our team, apart from world-class players, we were left under our tutelage. He picked very hard-nosed professional players, people like the Jack Charles, people like the Nobby Stiles, and you need that kind of balance between creative players and tough players when you're playing, in the biggest competition on earth.
Semi-final, Portugal. Portugal had almost single-handedly got there through the genius of Eusebio, and but you had a number of geniuses. One was called Robert Charlton.
Yes.
2 goals, typical Charlton goals as well, weren't they? I mean, nothing's going to... A brick wall would not stop his shooting.
No, astonishing. Sir Robert Charlton's CVE. What's astonishing about Bobby, I talked about him being two-footed, but as a midfield player, his record for England, 100 games, 49 goals. Even people like Steven Gerrard and Frank Lampard, brilliant players in today's football, trying to compete with 1 in 2 at international level is astonishing. And of course, he got... And what's great about Bobby, how a world-class player, probably the biggest name in the England team then. He went abroad, if they couldn't speak English, they could tell you 2 words, Bob Charlton. So he was that big through Man United's success and so on. And he got the 2 goals. What's also illustrates and shines with his humility, so he scores 2 goals in the semi-final. In the final comes, he's asked to mark Beckenbauer. I mean, can you imagine asking a guy that's one of the world-class players, a goal every 2 games, to go and mark somebody? And Helmut Schön, the German manager, saw Bobby Charlton as our key player and asked Beckenbauer, their best player, to mark Bobby Charlton.
So they negated each other.
So 2 of the greatest players of any era, virtually in a World Cup final, just blocks each other out. Yeah. But it shows what a great player Bobby was, and what a great person, a great character and professional. He's prepared to not want to be a shining light, score more goals and have a chance. But he was asked to mark him, and he marked him for 90 minutes. And that just shows how great Bobby Charlton was.
The day or the night before the World Cup final, you get the nod. You're in. Jimmy was fit by then. He could have played, but you got the nod. So, sort of mixed emotions, and fantastic for you, but difficult for Jimmy.
Well, for me, that's part of the profession. It didn't extremely difficult to Jimmy. You'd think if we played the World Cup final, he was the #1 on the team sheet, and he was fit. But by then, as I said earlier, it looked at the better balance from the team earlier on. Was me a bigger player with either Roger or Jimmy was smaller, and some of the players have said much later the balance of that was better, and it finished up completely different with me playing alongside Roger in the final. But I think I'd taken my chance, scoring the winner in the quarters. I made this second in the semi. Of course, we get to the final, and I think I got 3.
You definitely did. You definitely. There's no thinking about it. The night before, you went to the cinema, didn't you? Yeah.
Yes, we watched those magnificent men in their flying machines.
There we go. As you do.
As you do. Astonishing. Again, the huge change in the coverage of the game and the press and people following you. We walked to Hendon Central to watch the film. Walked back home. All the 22 of us plus staff.
Brilliant.
Hardly any photographers, any cameras, any people on selfies. It was quite astonishing. The players could walk into Hendon shopping in Golders Green during the tournament and not being pestered. It was a different era.
It was a different era.
I call it the medieval times.
Yeah. It's 52 years ago, I suppose it
is medieval times.
So, the actual game itself, obviously, Germany take the lead. It's not supposed to happen. And then straight off the training ground, Bobby Moore, quick free kick. You head it in. You scored a goal in the World Cup final. That's almost unbelievable enough, isn't it?
It is, particularly even adding to that the fact that Bobby Moore, something we again created, taking quick free kicks in the final. So that was quite fulfilling. Importantly, the first goal to get back in the game, So very fulfilling. If you see my stupid celebration when I jumped up and did look like God knows what I looked like, it was just more or less saying I've arrived, I could score a goal, I've had 2 or 3 good games, I'm here and I'm ready to play. A rather stupid, pathetic celebration, quite frankly, but who cares?
Who cares? Martin Peters, you thought had won it, quite a late goal.
10 minutes to go.
And then 1 minute to go, the Germans equalised, okay? And then famously, a couple of great Alf quotes, as you're preparing for extra time.
Yes, it's words that stick in your mind, many of the sayings and stuff, but that one, that finishing, when we sat on the field, the first thing he said when he came on the field, get up, don't let the Germans see you tired, get up. He chatted to one or two of the players about their individual responsibilities and extra time, and he left us with a line which we all remember: you've beaten the Germans once, go and beat them again. And that was how he left us. And we were that good a team that we recovered from that blow, them equalising. And at that stage, a great German side, probably with the momentum would have been with them, but it was not a game we went out and beat them. And deservedly, we talk about the disputed goal, but the Germans quite frankly admit very clearly, on the day we were the better side. And up to that stage in history, we had the Indian side over the Germans. It wasn't until latter years where they became a little more successful.
Third goal, your second goal, probably the most famously disputed goal of all time.
Yes.
You've got a very simple answer to the question, which, by the way, you might have been asked before. Did it cross the line?
I think it was. I don't recollect very well, but I think it was something like a metre over the line. It's been asked, so often. Nothing's proved conclusively that the goal was over, the ball was over. From my point of view, I had the worst view in the stadium because I fell on a half turn. The goal was over here. As I hit it, I fell over, and the ball actually bounced behind the German keeper, Tilkowski. So I hadn't a clue at all. I'm just hopefully the linesman from we think it was a Russian linesman, but we find later on with more in-depth looking into it. He's from Azerbaijan. So it was. And had they had goal line technology, which we have today quite clearly, it would have showed the ball was well over the line.
But also, crucially, Roger Hunt was right next to it, wasn't he?
Yes, Roger was, and I've gone in this a lot, Roger Hunt, a great striker, following in if it comes off the keeper or the post, attempting to put it in. Instinctively you do, he didn't. He shouted goal, he put his arm in the air, just wheeled away. And I've gone on that as much as anything else. He had obviously a much better view from me coming from the other side.
And then also famously, so many incidents, so many issues about that particular game. The fourth goal, it gave Kenneth Wolstenholme the chance to deliver arguably still the greatest line in commentary ever. But also, of course, it was a sensational fourth goal. It was your hat-trick. Tell the truth.
Well, that last half hour with the disputed goal and, of course, the final moments of the game, I remember very clearly on that evening what I was thinking coming up to shoot. I knew the game was nearly over. I'd seen the referee with the whistle in his mouth going, play on. And so I knew it was nearly over. I'm now going to whack this ball with every ounce I've got. It goes beyond the bar, beyond the sand. By the time the keeper gets it, the game will be over. But as you know, I miss it and it flew in. And the commentary, I challenge anybody to have a better commentary of that, looking at that shot 50 years later. Brilliant.
Yeah,
best part of our language now.
Best miss it in history. Of course, your career wasn't just about 66. You went on to play for England. You played famously in 70, of course, the World Cup campaign. Scored a disputed goal. It was disallowed in the famous quarter-final, which you would have been 3-2 up, wouldn't you, against Germany, or West Germany? Yeah. And instead, they won 3-2.
Well, as much as Wembley in '66 was a highlight, hugely disappointing at international level against the Germans in that quarter-final, leading 2-0, and then losing 3-2, and it would have been 3-2 to us.
And you were a great team then as well, weren't you?
Yeah.
Some say even better.
Even better. Arguably, a couple of good players came in. There was still the hardcore of the '66 team. I think 7 or 8 players still there. And we, though with those 6 years, we were the team to beat. I mean, even Brazil, we played in the early round. Arguably the greatest Brazilian side that's ever won a World Cup. They beat us 1-0 in that early round. We probably should have got a draw, maybe. And they respected us. It gave them a lot of confidence to have beaten us.
Yeah. You went on to Stoke City. Most people associate you with West Ham, of course, but you played for Stoke as well before. You moved to America as well after that, and then you had a little dabble with management, didn't you, at Chelsea and Kuwait, and then you went back to return to your first profession, really, which was insurance, and that kept you going through all these years. But hopefully you never tire. It's not the worst thing in the world, is it, to reminisce about doing what you've done?
Well, I'm often asked, do I get fed up talking about it? And the answer is quite clearly no. I think the enjoyment of winning a World Cup in your own country at Wembley on that great day last forever, because people want to tell you about their reminiscences of the day. They want to tell you where they were and what they were doing. Yeah. And that brings so much joy and happiness to all our lads when the people tell them that. And you don't realise at the time as a player how the magnitude of the occasion. It's only many years later when you realise how 35 million people watched it on TV. There wasn't a car in the street, in the roads, everything was deserted. People who didn't have televisions in those days watched it in the high street, in radio rentals, watching 10 screens. One guy in the street had a TV, all the neighbours are down there. All this kind of stories are brilliant. So do I get fed up talking about it? Absolutely not.
And finally, Geoff, as an England fan, which of course you are, would you be quite happy if one day, maybe even this year, somebody else from England scored a hat-trick in a World Cup final?
I'm a fan of England. I'm a positive player. I want England to do well in the final. I want somebody to get there. I want somebody to score 3. But of course, I've had a good run now. I won't mind too much.
52 years is not bad.
It's not bad, no.
So Geoff, it's been an absolute pleasure.
Thanks,
and it gives me well, a great honour to present you with this honour cap. Congratulations.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Good talking to you. Great, lovely. Hello, my name is Sir Geoff Hurst, and I'm here this morning at Wembley Stadium with the brilliant memorabilia boys. It was 50 years ago that I scored a hat-trick for England in the World Cup final against West Germany. And to this day, no player on this planet has ever scored 3 goals in a World Cup final. The record still stands. I'm delighted with these gold record commemorative discs, which are a brilliant tribute to our sporting success and the occasion of 1966. We are raising money for the Bobby Moore Fund in honour of my good old friend and lost teammate, a great player. This will make a fantastic addition to your workplace, home or club bar.